That sound you just heard? For most people, it's the sound of money, of opportunity. But I'm here to tell you it's a lie. It's the sound of a trap. A psychological war zone where your own brain is the enemy and every single one of your natural instincts is a liability. If you've ever placed a trade, picked a stock, or even just invested in your 401k and felt that gut-wrenching panic when it drops, or that intoxicating rush when it goes up, you've already felt the battlefield, but you were never given the map. What's up, book lovers? Welcome to Book Zeal. Today, we're cracking open one of the most brutally honest trading books ever written. A book that has absolutely zero charts or technical indicators, because its entire focus is on the one thing that never changes: you. We're diving into Edwin Lefèvre's Reminiscences of a Stock Operator. This isn't a story about getting rich quick. This is a story about getting smart slowly. And we're covering all 10 chapters, from his wild beginnings in bucket shops all the way to his hard-won wisdom and mastery. You will learn the one critical mistake nearly every new trader makes that has nothing to do with picking stocks. We'll expose the terrifying truth about how the market is often rigged against you, and more importantly, how to spot it. We're going to talk about the single most important skill that separates the pros from the amateurs. And spoiler alert, it's not what you think. It's the art of doing nothing, of sitting tight. Now, pay very close attention when we get to the chapters on dealing with market manipulation and the psychology of your own emotions. If you skip those, you're essentially walking back into that casino without learning the house's tricks. This is where the real game is played. So whether you're listening from the West Coast with your morning coffee, from a New York subway, or from somewhere down in Texas, if you're ready to stop fighting the market and start understanding it, this is for you. Do me a favor and hit that subscribe button for more truths they don't teach in business school. So let's get started. Chapter 1. Beginnings in Bucket Shops. The first time I ever placed a bet, I was just a kid, scribbling numbers on a slip of paper in a dusty room that smelled of cheap cigars and desperation. I wasn't in some grand Wall Street firm. I was in a bucket shop. And let me tell you, a bucket shop is a special kind of place. It looks like a brokerage firm. It sounds like a brokerage firm, but it's a casino in a cheap suit. You're not actually buying or selling any real stock. You're just betting against the house on whether the price of a stock will go up or down. And the house always has an edge. Most people walked in there with a dream and walked out with empty pockets. But for me, that room wasn't a trap. It was a classroom. And the ticker tape was my teacher. It whispered the secrets of the market, not in shouts of buy and sell, but in the quiet rhythm of its clicks and pauses. I didn't see numbers on a tape. I saw a story unfolding, a story of fear and greed and the beautiful, predictable patterns of human nature. I started to see the same story play out, over and over again. The crowd would get excited about a stock that had already gone up, piling in right at the top, just in time for it to crash back down. They were following the noise, the excitement, the herd, and I was just sitting in the corner, a nobody kid, starting to see the silence between the noises. That was the real signal. I wasn't a genius. I was just a good listener. And the first lesson the market ever taught me was this: the crowd is usually wrong at the most important moments. It's a terrifying thought, isn't it? That the very feeling of being part of something big, something everyone agrees on, is often the exact moment you're about to lose it all. It's like being at a party where the music is so loud you can't think, and everyone is having a great time, but you're the only one who notices the smell of smoke. Do you scream? Do you tell everyone? Or do you just quietly find the exit? I found the exit. I started doing the opposite of what felt right, the opposite of what the loudest voices were saying. If the newspapers were screaming that a stock was a sure thing, I'd bet against it. If everyone was panicking and selling, I'd look for a reason to buy. It was a lonely way to operate. It felt wrong in my gut. But my gut was learning to shut up and listen to my head. And my head was listening to that ticker tape. I started winning. Not just a little, consistently. The bucket shop operators, they hated me. I was this kid taking their money day after day. They'd eventually bar me from their shops one by one. They called me a troublemaker. I was just a student who had learned the lesson too well. And the lesson was simple, but it changes everything. You're not trading stocks. You're trading against the emotions of every other person who thinks they're trading stocks. You're in a silent, invisible war of patience against impulse. And in that war, the most powerful weapon you have isn't your money. It's your ability to sit perfectly still while everyone else is losing their mind. Chapter 2. First Lessons in Speculation. So they kicked me out of the bucket shops, threw me right out on the street. You'd think that was a failure, right? The end of the line. But it was the real beginning, because I had to go find the actual game, Wall Street. And let me tell you, the difference between a bucket shop and the real New York Stock Exchange is like the difference between playing a video game and being dropped into a live battlefield. The rules are different, the stakes are real, and my first real trade with a legitimate broker was a complete disaster. I lost every single dollar I had brought with me from those bucket shop wins. Poof, gone, just like that. And it wasn't bad luck. It was a brutal, beautiful lesson. See, in the bucket shops, I was betting on paper prices with zero impact. My $500 bet didn't move the needle. But on the real exchange, when I tried to sell a few hundred shares of a real stock, my own order could actually push the price down against me. The game was rigged, but not in the way you think. It was rigged by scale. I was a minnow who thought he was a shark because he'd been swimming in a pond. The ocean was a different beast. The tape was still telling the truth, but I wasn't listening to the whole story. I was only hearing the words, not understanding the grammar. It's like hearing a song and only catching the melody, completely missing the complex rhythm section underneath that's actually driving the whole thing. I was broke, humiliated, but I wasn't defeated, because that loss drilled a new truth into my skull. Being right about the direction of the market is only half the battle. The other half is the mechanics of it, the logistics. It's knowing that your own footprint in the market can trip you up. It's the difference between knowing a city from a map and knowing it from driving its streets during rush hour. One is theory. The other is a messy, unpredictable, and expensive reality. So I had to go back. I had to find a stake, get back in the game. But this time, I wasn't just watching the tape for patterns of human emotion. I was also learning its physics. How big orders moved the price. How long it took to get in and out. It was no longer just a psychological game. It was a tactical one. And the biggest tactic I learned, the one that saved me, was patience. Not the patience to wait for a trade, I had that. But the patience to wait for the right moment to execute it. To place my order in a way that the market wouldn't see me coming. To be a ghost, not a bull in a china shop. That's the secret they don't tell you. Winning isn't about being the loudest. It's about being the quietest. It's about making your move when nobody else is looking. Chapter 3. Transition to Wall Street. Going back to Wall Street after that beating was like walking back into a gym where you got knocked out cold. The air smells the same, the sounds are the same, but your gut is screaming at you to turn around. Every instinct tells you to cut your losses and run. But that's the exact moment you have to decide what you're made of. Are you just a gambler chasing the thrill? Or are you a speculator here to solve a puzzle? I was flat broke, but I had a new kind of capital. The kind you can't lose in a single trade. I had the memory of exactly how I lost. It was my most valuable possession. So I did the only thing I could. I talked my way into a stake. I found a guy who'd front me some money, and I walked back onto that battlefield. But I was a different soldier. I was quieter. I was slower. I wasn't there to prove I was right. I was there to be right, and to make sure the mechanics of the trade didn't blow up in my face. And something funny started to happen. The tape began to talk to me in a whole new language. Before, it was just shouting up or down. Now, it was whispering. It was telling me stories about support, about resistance. It was showing me these little battles happening between the bulls and the bears, and I could see the exact moment one side was about to break. It was like I could finally see the currents underneath the water, not just the waves on the surface. I started placing smaller trades, not to make a killing, but to make a point, to prove I understood the new rules. And the money started to come back, slow and steady this time. It wasn't a dramatic comeback, it was a grind. It was putting one foot in front of the other. And that's the dirty little secret of Wall Street they never put in the movies. The big wins, the home runs, they don't come from a single brilliant idea. They come from 1,000 small, correct decisions that put you in the position for that one big idea to actually pay off. You have to earn the right to be bold. You have to build your capital, both in your bank account and in your confidence, one careful, patient trade at a time. I was no longer just a kid who could read the crowd. I was becoming a professional who could navigate the machine. And the machine, I realized, was just a magnifying glass for every single one of our human flaws. Chapter 4. Losing and Learning Discipline. You know that feeling when you're on a hot streak, when every single thing you touch turns to gold. It's a dangerous, intoxicating feeling. And I caught it bad. The careful trades started working. The money was rolling in. And a little voice in my head started whispering, "You're a genius." That voice is a liar. It's the siren song that wrecks every sailor who's ever had a little luck. I started to see patterns that weren't there. I started betting bigger, not because the signals were better, but because my confidence was. I was no longer listening to the market. I was telling it what to do. And the market, it doesn't like being told what to do. It happened on a trade in Northern Pacific. I was so sure. It wasn't a hypothesis anymore. It was a conviction. I bet the farm. I leveraged up. I put every single dollar of my hard-earned comeback on the line. And for a day, maybe two, I felt like a king. I was watching the ticker, waiting for my coronation. Then it turned. It wasn't a slow turn. It was a trap door swinging open underneath my feet. The price didn't just dip. It collapsed. And my orders to get out? They couldn't get filled fast enough. The machine I thought I understood chewed me up and spat me out. By the time the dust settled, I was wiped out. Not just down, but obliterated, zeroed out. That feeling, it's not like the first time I lost. That was a lesson. This was a funeral. It was the death of that invincible version of myself I'd started to believe in. I sat there in that broker's office, staring at a slip of paper that confirmed I was broke. And I felt nothing, just a hollowed-out silence. And in that silence, the real lesson finally landed. It wasn't about reading the tape. It wasn't about mechanics. It was about me. The single biggest risk in the entire market was the guy staring back at me in the mirror. My ego, my impatience, my inability to admit I was wrong until it was way too late. I had broken the one unbreakable rule: never bet the farm. Never risk so much that one wrong trade can take you out of the game completely. Discipline isn't a strategy. It's a survival instinct. It's the voice that tells you to take a small loss today so you can live to fight tomorrow. I had to learn to fight myself, and for the first time, I had truly lost that fight. But in that loss, I found a new kind of clarity. The market doesn't reward brilliance. It rewards discipline. And I had just been served the most expensive lesson of my life on exactly what that word really means. Chapter 5. The Power of Patience and Timing. There's a special kind of quiet that settles over you after you've blown up your entire life's work. The noise of the ticker tape, the shouting on the floor, the frantic energy of the crowd. It all just fades into a dull hum. You're not broke. You're bankrupt, in your soul. And for the first time in years, you're forced to just sit, to be still. I couldn't afford to trade, so I did the only thing I could. I watched. I became a ghost in the machine, haunting the brokerage offices, just observing. And without the pressure to make a move, without the itch to be in the action, I started to see the market in a way I never had before. I saw stocks move in great, slow, tidal waves. Moves that took weeks, sometimes months, to build. I'd been so busy chasing the little ripples, the daily squiggles on the tape, that I'd completely missed the ocean current pulling everything along. It was like I'd been trying to catch individual raindrops during a hurricane, instead of just noticing which way the wind was blowing. My previous problem wasn't a lack of courage or even a lack of skill. It was a lack of scale. I was trying to sprint a marathon, and the market will always punish a sprinter. So I made a promise to myself, sitting there with empty pockets. If I ever got back in the game, I would trade on the side of the tide, not against it. I would wait for the perfect setup, the one that fit the bigger picture. I wouldn't just be right about the stock, I'd be right about the season. It's the difference between knowing a storm is coming and knowing the exact moment the first drop of rain will hit your windshield. One is a forecast, the other is a trigger. I learned to separate the two. The forecast was the patient, slow work of understanding the major trend. The trigger was the specific signal on the tape that told me the move was beginning, and the space between them, that was the hardest part. That was the waiting. It's a brutal, boring, lonely space. It's watching other people make money on trades you don't take. It's sitting on your hands while your ego screams at you to do something. But it's in that space where the real money is made. Not by the frantic action, but by the terrifying, powerful, deliberate inaction. Chapter 6. Dealing with Market Manipulation. Just when you think you've finally figured out the game, you realize you've only been playing the tutorial level. I'd learned patience. I'd learned to read the tides, but I was about to learn that sometimes the tide is artificial. Someone has a hose upstream and they're creating waves for their own amusement. I started noticing these strange, almost surgical moves in certain stocks. A stock would be dead quiet, sleeping, and then out of nowhere, a huge wave of buying would hit it, pushing the price way up on massive volume. The newspapers would go wild talking about its amazing breakout. The public would get excited and pile in, chasing the rally. And then, just as suddenly, the rally would die. The stock would sag, then plummet, leaving all those new buyers holding the bag. At first I thought it was just weird market behavior, but the patterns were too clean, too perfect. It was a rigged game. These weren't natural market moves. They were pools, syndicates of big operators who would band together to artificially inflate a stock's price, creating a beautiful, irresistible illusion of demand, only to dump all their shares onto the public at the top. They were manufacturing a truth to sell a lie, and I fell for it. I saw one of these engineered breakouts. I remembered my lessons about following the trend, and I jumped in. I bought right into their carefully laid trap. For a few days I was making money. I felt smart. I was riding the wave, but then the music stopped. The buying vanished. The pool operators started quietly selling, and the price began to crumble. I got out with a small loss, but it shook me more than any previous loss. This wasn't a lesson about my own psychology. This was a lesson about the wolves in the pasture. I realized the tape doesn't just tell you about the mass psychology of the crowd. Sometimes it tells you about the cunning of a single predator. The game wasn't just about being smarter than the average person. It was about being aware enough to see when the game itself was being hacked. You had to learn to distinguish between a real move, born from genuine supply and demand, and a manufactured one, designed to look real. It was like learning to spot a counterfeit bill. You had to study the real thing so closely that the fake one just felt wrong in your hands. The feeling was off. The volume was off. The timing was just a little too convenient. I started to see the ghost in the machine, and once you see it, you can't unsee it. Chapter 7. Learning from Major Failures. They say you should learn from your mistakes. That's only half the story. The real education is in the catastrophic failures, the ones that leave a scar on your memory so deep you can feel it years later. For me, that was the lesson of Union Pacific. I had studied it. I knew its business, its numbers. The big picture trend was up. The tide was with me. I even saw through the potential for manipulation. I did everything by the book. I knew disciplined, patient book. I built a position carefully, slowly. I was in. And then, nothing. The stock didn't go down. It didn't go up. It just sat there. It went dormant. It was like watching paint dry on a wall you've bet your life savings on. Days turned into weeks. My money was just sitting there, locked up, doing nothing. Meanwhile, other stocks were moving. I saw opportunities flashing by, chances to make money, but my capital was trapped in this sleeping giant. The psychological pressure was immense. It wasn't the sharp pain of a loss. It was the slow, grinding ache of a missed opportunity. It was FOMO before anyone had a word for it. I started second-guessing my research. Maybe I was wrong. Maybe I'd missed something. The inertia of the trade was messing with my head worse than any volatility ever had. Finally, I couldn't take it anymore. I sold. I took my money out, basically at break-even, feeling like a complete idiot for wasting all that time. And wouldn't you know it, 2 weeks after I sold, Union Pacific woke up. It didn't just go up a little, it exploded. It launched like a rocket and went on one of the most dramatic runs I'd ever seen. I had been right. My analysis was perfect. My timing on the entry was fine. But I didn't have the one ingredient you can't learn from a book. The guts to sit through the boredom. The courage to do nothing. I was so afraid of being wrong that I couldn't handle being right. That trade taught me a new kind of fear. It's not the fear of losing money. It's the fear of being right and still failing because you couldn't handle the emotional weight of your own conviction. The market doesn't just test your intelligence. It tests your stamina, your ability to just wait, in the deafening silence, for the world to catch up to what you already know. Chapter 8. Psychology of Trading and Emotions. After the Union Pacific disaster, I had to get out of the city. The constant hum of the ticker tape was like a voice in my head, replaying my mistake on a loop. I ended up on a friend's farm, miles from anywhere. No phones, no news, just the sound of the wind and a stubborn old mule named Gus. And Gus, it turned out, was about to teach me the final, most important lesson. This mule was the most stubborn creature on God's green earth. You could not force that animal to do a thing it didn't want to do. Pull on its harness, yell, push from behind. It would just lock its knees and stand there. It would rather die than be forced. But if you had a sugar cube, if you just stood there, patient, holding out a little bit of sweetness, eventually Gus would amble right over. No fighting, no struggle. It was a transaction. I was standing there one morning, watching this, and it hit me so hard I almost laughed. The market is Gus. You can't force it. You can't scream at it, you can't bully it, you can't beg it to move in your direction. The second you try to impose your will on it, it locks its knees. All that effort, all that emotional energy gets you absolutely nowhere. My biggest losses never came from the market being random or cruel. They came from me trying to force a trade, from me being so emotionally invested in being right that I stopped listening. Hope, fear, ego. These aren't just feelings. In the market, they are liabilities. They are attacks on your capital. They cloud your vision and make you see what you want to see, not what is actually there. Standing there with that sugar cube, I wasn't emotional. I was observational. I was patient. I was offering a trade that was beneficial for both of us, and it worked. The market doesn't care about your rent, your ego, or your dreams. It just is. And your only job is to be a cool, calm observer, waiting for it to offer you a sugar cube. To trade not because you need to be right, but because the setup is right. The goal is to become like that patient farmer, not the frantic, emotional city slicker trying to wrestle a mule. The battle was never in the charts. It was always right here inside my own chest. And for the first time, I knew how to win it. Chapter 9. The Art of Sitting Tight. You know what's harder than pulling the trigger on a trade? Not pulling the trigger. It's the ultimate test. I came back from that farm with a new operating system in my head. My next big trade was in US steel. I'd done the work. The tide was there. The setup was perfect. I got in, and then I did nothing, absolutely nothing. The stock went up a little, and every cell in my body, every old instinct screamed to take the profit. Don't be greedy, cash in. But I remembered Gus. I sat on my hands. Then it dipped. My stomach dropped. The voice came back, louder, panicked. You're an idiot. You're going to watch it all disappear. Sell before you have a loss. It was pure fear shouting in my ear. I physically put my hands in my pockets so I wouldn't be tempted to run to the broker and sell. I just watched the tape. The story it was telling hadn't changed. The reasons I bought it were still true. The dip was just noise. So I sat. The stock recovered. Then it went up some more. And the new challenge started. The euphoria, the voice of my ego preening. You're a genius. Look how much you've made. Imagine if you sold now the vacation you could take. It was just as dangerous as the fear. Both were trying to get me to exit a trade that was still perfectly healthy. I realized the market throws a party for your emotions every single day. Fear and greed are the two hosts, and they're both trying to get you to leave early. My job was no longer about finding the right trade. It was about protecting the right trade from myself. I had to become a bodyguard for my own position. The money isn't made in the buying or the selling. The money is made in the waiting, in the sitting. It's the most inactive, active thing you will ever do. It looks like you're doing nothing from the outside, but on the inside, you're fighting the biggest battle of your life. And when you finally do decide to sell, it shouldn't feel like a relief. It should feel like a logical conclusion. The story you bought into has ended. The tape told you the final chapter, and you just closed the book. No drama, no regret, just done. Chapter 10. Wisdom of Experience and Mastery. There's no finish line in this game. No moment where you get a trophy and the crowd goes wild. Mastery isn't a destination you arrive at. It's a rhythm you finally learn to hear. It's the hum of the machine, the whisper of the tape, the quiet beat of your own heart, all finally playing in tune. After years of this, the crazy swings start to feel familiar. The panic of a crash, the euphoria of a boom, they're just different seasons now. You don't get excited about the summer and dread the winter. You just put on a different coat. The money becomes a byproduct, a way of keeping score, but it's not the point anymore. The point is the clarity. The point is looking at a chaotic screen of flashing numbers and seeing a perfectly clear story of human nature unfolding in real time. It's knowing that the same greed that built ancient Rome is the same greed pumping up a tech stock, and the same fear that emptied villages of the plague is the same fear that triggers a market sell-off. The names and the technology change, but the people are always the same, and you finally understand your place in it. You're not a prophet, you're not a gambler, you're a participant observer. You feel the emotional weather of the crowd, but you don't get caught in the storm. You're the one who packed an umbrella. That's the wisdom. It's not a list of rules. It's a feeling in your bones. It's knowing that the biggest secret to making $1 million is first learning how not to lose 10,000. It's the patience of that farmer, the stubbornness of that mule, and the cold, clear eyes of a scientist, all rolled into one. The journey never ends. But after a while, the path feels less like a battle and more like a road you were always meant to walk. And if something in this story clicked for you, if you saw a piece of your own struggle in this old tale, then pay it forward. Share this with one person who needs to hear it. Drop a comment below with your biggest takeaway. Hype this up if it made you think differently. And subscribe, because the conversation doesn't end here. This is just the beginning of yours.